Hey there crew, it's Mark, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a planner and notebook year in review. I'll be talking about all the planners and notebooks that I used throughout this year, what I really liked, why I made some changes, and my goal of taking my planner stack from this to this. This year I did something totally different that I've done in the past, and I combined my bullet journal along with a task planner from Appointed. This was the first time really committing to a dated planner. I absolutely loved the monthly overviews. This is something that I wasn't getting inside of my bullet journal unless I was really working and creating those pages ahead of time. They had built-in weekly and dated spreads, which I really liked about this. And I was able to implement something different than I've ever done before, which is break my larger tasks down into 2-week task sprints. I loved this part about this planner in the beginning of this year. I felt so on top of my stuff. I was being very intentional about the tasks and the things that I wanted to do. Writing them down, referring back to them, and knocking these things out, it felt amazing. I used small sticky notes to create those smaller tasks. I used my weekend column that I wasn't really using for planning to add those in here and pay attention and just break everything down. I also really loved being able to really future plan ahead of time. So for example, my team has a monthly team meeting that we have, and every quarter we have a planning meeting. I went ahead and booked those inside of Outlook ahead of time as a reoccurring meeting, and I came back into my planner and wrote those all down. Also, anytime I needed to remind myself to do something or to prep for that meeting, I would just write a small note inside that calendar view here to prepare for one of those larger meetings, and I just felt much more on top of it. I've definitely used my future log in my past bullet journals, but honestly, it just wasn't doing the same thing that this task planner was doing for me with these calendars. I was also using the left-hand side of these pages to capture my team's weekly capacity, which is something that I do as a part of my Monday meetings. I even got a little fancy and printed some of these out and was sticking those right in here so I wasn't rewriting the lines every single week. Along with this task planner, I was also using my good old trusty bullet journal. I've been bullet journaling for 6.5 years, so this was not going anywhere. And the thing is that inside of my task planner, it handled things okay, but it wasn't able to handle the longer notes that I was taking from my meetings and reoccurring meetings and threading through those. I also have general collection pages that I like to keep inside of my bullet journal, like an Instagram and a YouTube tracker, one-on-ones, and also just general weekly notes as well. I also love the page markers that are inside the addition to bullet journal. This helps so much with my weekly spreads, being able to easily break my page into half pages or third pages. The 120 GSM paper is better than the previous versions, but I still found that this notebook ghosts a lot. But it's something that I was willing to overlook because I committed to this notebook. I really enjoy the creative part of bullet journaling, so I also wanted to be able to do that inside of here. This is one of the cons that I found with the task planner. The paper inside of this task planner isn't what I'm used to. The Bullet Journal Edition 2 is 120 GSM. My previous notebook last year was 160 GSM. So going down to kind of a more typical 70-pound paper, let's just say it wasn't the best experience for me. Over the years, I've come to really love writing with fountain pens, and the task planner just absolutely could not handle a fountain pen. It didn't just ghost, it bled through the pages. It was not fantastic. So what I found is that I was using a fountain pen inside of my bullet journal, but then having to take pencils and pens with me that could work inside of this planner. And I'll be honest with you, it just got to be a lot. I liked the ability to quickly switch between my bullet journal and this planner. And so I found that I started using fountain pens less because I wanted to make it easier for myself. What I can say is that the biggest downfall of using two planners, at least a task planner, which is here to capture your task and be productive and work through it, mixing that along with my bullet journal, which does the same exact thing, I found myself repeating a lot of the same tasks. I would write them down inside of my task planner because it had a space for tasks, but then as I was writing down meeting notes and other tasks I needed to accomplish, I was putting them inside of my bullet journal. And while I kept up with this and managed it earlier in the year, you can actually see the decline of use inside of my task planner as we got into May and June. Around that May-June timeframe, I was introduced to Owl Paper Journals. They contacted me and asked if I'd be open to trying their new planners that they were just putting out. Taking a look at them, they looked very similar to Hobonichi's and the Sterling Ink and some of the other ones that I was seeing out there. But I wasn't sure how much I was willing to commit, and in my mind, I'd already committed to using this task planner along with my bullet journal. I was generally intrigued with this planner, especially in the way that it looked like it was set up, and once I got it, I fell in love. It had those monthly view calendars that I love for my task planner. Each page already had dated weeklies in a vertical layout, which I really liked as well. As you can see, I also do a little bit of customization with this notebook because when it was originally sent to me, it only came in pink. That wasn't really my style, so I went ahead and customized it, adding stickers and blacking out the rest of the cover. And honestly, I think it looks pretty darn cool. A lot of the things that I was doing inside of my task planner, I was able to easily replicate inside of this Owl Paper journal. I was able to capture my team's weekly capacity, which is important to my job function. I could write down quick and easy notes inside of this planner or reminders if I needed to for the weeks, but I wasn't focused on trying to keep my task inside of this planner. That is what my bullet journal was for. I also liked that it was a smaller profile than my task planner as well. At this point in the year, I was going back into work 2 times a week and sitting at my desk, I have my bullet journal, my task planner open, my computer, whatever notes, and it just felt like a lot. So making the switch over to the Owl Paper Planner was a no-brainer for me. I was a little sad to go ahead and sunset the task planner, but I felt very confident moving into this other planner along with my bullet journal and what it was going to be able to afford me when it came to productivity, the way in which I worked, and what I really liked about it. There were only a few things inside of this planner that I don't necessarily love, and it's not necessarily the planner itself, more of a personal preference. So this planner has Tomoe river paper. Everyone talks about this. It's what's in all of the different planners that are out there. And while it does handle fountain pens beautifully, and I can use one fountain pen throughout the week and not have to switch off, the problem is that because it's thin paper, you can see right through it. But that's just the feature of Tomoe river paper. It's thin. It can be in a small package. It doesn't need to be a huge notebook to fit so much inside of it. The ghosting is a personal preference for me. It's been a problem since my very first bullet journal in the original Leuchtturm notebooks that are like 80 GSM paper. I like thick paper. I like to use stamps in my bullet journal. I like to use fountain pens, and I don't want any ghosting or bleed through. It's a personal preference and something that I just personally don't love inside of my bullet journals. But it's something that I've been working on and just accepting and knowing that, okay, inside of my Owl journal, this is just what it looks like, and it's totally okay. Some of the pages are gonna ghost depending on what I'm putting inside of my bullet journal, and Mark, that's okay. So a lot of notebook and paper acceptance this year, and overall, relatively happy with where I'm ending the year with these 2 notebooks. Now, along with using those planners for work, I also handle a lot of my social media things that are going on and blog posts and everything else, and I was doing those analog in the start of the year. A big focus of mine earlier this year was to get ahead of my planning for YouTube and for Instagram and anything else that I had going on. It was kind of all over the place when I started, so I just condensed it down into using the Antou book Nota. What I liked about this one was that it has a magnetic binding, which is pretty cool, but it also has printable templates that I could use. My favorite template, and the one that I used the most this year, was this project planner. It's kind of this Gantt chart looking deal that I could set up for 4 weeks at a time. I could write the different ideas that I had over on the left and when those were launched. And I used this month after month and just absolutely loved what it did for me. I was also able to keep all of my ideas that I had around my bullet journal videos inside of here too, but the problem that I had is that it wasn't enough space to write, so then I was also using a larger notebook just to kind of handwrite out outline ideas for what I was doing for my blog posts. This notebook is from Zen Art Supplies, and this is one that I've had for a really long time. I don't even know when I originally got it, but I liked it because of its large size. I wasn't worried about paper quality or anything else like that. My big thing was just, how do I go ahead and write down all of my notes and things for blogs that I was writing and video outlines, and this did its job. Now, these notebook and planners did me well. Don't get me wrong, but the thing is that they are analog, and most of the time they're at home. And if I was out and about or had an idea, I ended up writing notes in my notes app on my phone or trying to do things in other places, write it on a sticky note, remember to bring it home, and it just ended up being too much. So for the last few months, I took these and condensed them into using Notion. I hadn't used Notion before and I had a great opportunity to work along with them, so I thought, hey, why not give it a try? And they had just come out with their project management function as well, and it just all made sense to me. If you're interested in checking out that video, I'll pop it up here and put the video link for you down in the descriptions below. But this was a major game changer for me. I could do everything that I was doing inside of my planners that I had for this all in one spot. I could create the project, I could create the tasks, I could write all of my notes and outline inside of there, and I could do that from anywhere. Whether I'm at my desk, I'm on the go, regardless of where I am, I can work on something digitally, and it's made a really big difference for me. So now my challenge for next year. How do I take all of these notebooks and get them into one single notebook? The first thing is that this is a square journal. All of my other ones in the past have been either A5, A4, or some variation of like a B5 size. This gives me the compactness of an A5 with the wideness of a B5. And what that's going to allow me to do is to create my own calendar pages, similar to what we had in the task planner and what we also had from the Owl Paper Journal as well. That's going to allow me to set these up. These calendar pages were a game changer for me, and I absolutely loved using them this year. So being able to get them inside of one journal makes me really happy. I'll be able to utilize the space and plan ahead the same way that I have before. I also set up a Monday through Sunday layout, since sometimes I use the Saturday, Sunday for events, and other times I'm going to use it for my bi-weekly planning that I had done previously. My last square bullet journal lasted me 9 months, so I've gone ahead and put in 10 months just for a little bit of safety for me. So this will take me from January to October, and if I need to switch to another notebook, I absolutely can. I'm not trying to fit an entire year inside of one notebook. I just know that that's just unrealistic for me. I'm really excited for the challenge of bringing a planner and my bullet journal together. I like the features of some of these planners, but I also just love a bullet journal. And Archer and Olive has always been very good to me when it comes to the paper quality, and a square journal is awesome for exactly what I think I'm trying to do. I still plan on using Notion for all of my YouTube ideation and outlines for videos. It just works so well for me. I'm glad that I adopted it, and I'm really excited to keep that going. I do have some other ideas on ways to do things now that I'm working from home and trying to find ways to kind of keep work, and personal. Something different that I'm going to try this year is actually keeping a notebook designated for where my home computer is. I plan on using Owl Paper planners for that, and I really like the way that they're set up. I can jot things down inside of there and kind of use that for something very different that I'm using this notebook for my work life. So where are you right now for your next year's planning? Do you already know the notebook stack that you have? Are you just using one bullet journal, or are you still thinking about it? Let me know down in the comments section below. Let's have a conversation and see where you are currently. I can't wait to share my upcoming bullet journal video with you. Setting this up is like the highlight of my year. It gets me so pumped for the new year, and I have a few ideas and things that I'm gonna try with it, a little bit different than the past, especially with some trackers and those reoccurring meetings. I'll talk with you next time, my friend. See ya.